Hello World Doll Day friends, this is Michael Knots with the Grovian Doll Museum and Carmel Doll Shop. Today we have a very special treat for you. We are in Sunnyvale, California at the Lace Museum, and we are very, very fortunate to have a wonderful lecturer with us today, and this is Kim Davis, the Managing Director of the Lace Museum. Thank you so much for having us. And
my pleasure.
So you are the lace guru, right?
I know a little bit about lace.
You know a little bit about lace. So you put out some special things for us to look at.
Yes.
And what are we looking at?
Here we have parasols and parasol covers. And as you can see, there are many different types of lace here. We have some knotted lace in the corner, some Irish crochet here in the center, and we have some tenerife here, a wide variety of different types of lace.
So were these pieces commercially made, or were they handmade, or are they a little bit of all of that?
A little bit of all of that. Most of these were handmade. I can say for certain that the tatting was handmade. That's over here in the left corner. And we can be certain about the Mediterranean knotted lace there in the corner. That is also handmade.
And these are for parasols, for shades.
That is correct. That is correct. An interesting tidbit about crochet, there are no machines that can actually make the crochet stitch.
Oh, is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there are things that can mimic it, but nothing that can actually make the crochet stitch. So when you see the true crochet stitches there, you know that that has been handmade. It doesn't tell you where. It could have been made anywhere in the world, but you still know it's been done by hand.
And tell me about this particular lace here. I just think this is so elegant.
So this is some lace on netting. And there are sort of a family of laces where you're using netting and a fine hook, which is where they actually think the crochet hook sort of came from. And you go through the netting and embroider. So it's what I would consider a surface decoration type of lace.
Kim, so tell me a little bit about the history of this museum.
Well, we've been here in Northern California since 1981, and we're a little bit unique in our area in that we're run completely by volunteers and donations and the money that volunteers can make through teaching and touring and lecturing.
So you're basically self-sufficient.
We really are. The pandemic has been an interesting time. But we pivoted very quickly and took most of our things online, and we've been having a booming business with online classes, students from all over the world, and it's been very fulfilling, and it's kept us afloat.
Is that something that anyone can join those classes?
Absolutely. If you go to our website, on the front page, there is a button for workshops, and anyone can join.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so I don't know that much about lace. So can you just give me the tutelage that you would give someone just walking in off the street?
Absolutely. If you came in off of the street, the first thing I would hand you is this little pamphlet that we've got, and we break the laces down into families to help people understand. And the families are put together by the construction of the lace.
Okay.
So all of the laces that you see in a family are similarly constructed. Up here, we have bobbin lace, and this particular lace is made with as few as 8 or as many as a few hundred bobbins, and we'll be having a demonstration with that in just a little while. This lace is very interesting in that it's sort of an open weaving technique, kind of a combination of weaving and braiding. One end is open.
This looks like, so this is all handmade, these
Yes.
pieces, but it looks to me like it's lace that we see that could be machine made. Is it?
That's absolutely correct. The machine lace is mimicked.
Okay. So how would one tell the difference?
So what you would
I
do...
know that's a loaded question.
Oh, it's so loaded. The first thing that you would do is train yourself to probably look at the ground. And by the ground, I mean these parts that look like net.
Okay.
And in there, you can see what type of lace you're looking at. When they're made by machine, they're often not made the way that they would be by a human. They do sort of unnatural things, and that's usually my first clue.
I can see, like, particularly this piece, that it's,
Yes.
some of the net kind of looks like it's
Imperfect.
imperfect. So is that the key?
You
One
can
of them?
make nearly perfect lace, or it can look very perfect by hand, but it is definitely a clue when it looks too perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that is definitely a clue.
So this is bobbin lace, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll be watching this video. Okay, what will we look at next?
How about the machine lace? I think
Oh,
that's fun to
okay.
talk about.
Okay.
So these laces are all machined, and they're mimicking a number of different types of lace. This one up in the corner is mimicking filet.
Like filet mignon?
Exactly. It's exactly the same, yes.
Okay.
And machine laces can be made a variety of ways. The most common way is still in production now. I took a trip to Germany a few years ago and saw some of the lace machines in Plauen, and they've been doing it there for over 100 years.
So those are old machines.
Oh yes, some old, some new. And the technique is a lot like a modern day embroidery machine. If you can imagine an embroidery machine where you have your stitches and then the backing is washed away when you're done, that's how these are created.
Wonderful. Okay. Now where do we go next?
How about over here to the knotted and tatted laces? So here you will see different laces that are comprised of knots, and they can be made a number of ways. Right now you're looking at some tatting, and
That seems to, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but tatting seems to be something that's still being done.
yes,
That's still a popular thing.
it is. It is. It's very portable. You don't need very many tools to do it. It's something you can pop into your purse, and so it's very handy that way.
Just make up some lace while you're on the plane.
It's very handy for the airplane or the doctor's office or waiting for your children at sports.
This, I think, is particularly interesting, this little loopy, of course, I'm looking at this all having to do with dolls, so whatever works with dolls is what I would be interested in. Okay, where do we go next?
How about up here to the crochet? Now this is something that people in most parts of the world have some experience with. Crochet has really gone far and wide, but there are a lot of different types of crochet. I think that the most popular and widely known would be the Irish crochet,
Which is gorgeous.
which is here, and it's also here to the left if you're able to move over there.
Gorgeous.
The little dangles. We also have a very American type doily here, and these often have the pineapple design, if you've ever seen the pineapple
Oh, yes.
design. I think most of us have grandmothers that had the pineapple design.
Yes, we do.
Up toward the very top, it will actually tell you what it is. It will self-identify as filet crochet.
Is that what it is?
And we had to put that on our sample board because it's just
It's fabulous.
It's just fun. And then just below that you see hairpin lace. So this is done with
okay.
a crochet hook and a
Okay.
hairpin.
Now, what would you date that technique at?
I believe that came in the late 1800s, but this particular piece I happen to know was just made a few years ago by one of us.
Okay.
We did not have a sample, and we wanted just a small sample.
What is the earliest known form of lace?
So that is also a little bit of a loaded question, and it will depend on who you talk to, possibly.
I'm talking to you.
The oldest laces that we recognize, and sort of the queens of lace, are bobbin and needle lace. And those likely emerged in the late 1400s, definitely by early 1500s. But there is something older than that that's really exciting that we consider lace, and that would be sprong. And we've just acquired our first 3 pieces. They're not even out on display yet.
Oh.
And that goes back probably a good 1,000 years. I don't have a
Okay, so
a hard date.
lace is not a new subject matter.
The concept of lace, no. We think of lace as thread around holes. You know, it's really the space that makes the lace. And
Okay.
so that concept has been going on as long as people have been weaving and doing wide braids. You can look into tablet weaving, loop braiding, you know, some of the older things, and see lacy patterns.
What about metallic lace? Is that in the...
It is.
Okay. So is that still considered lace too?
It is still lace. We have metal lace. That's actually my area of expertise. So that's a great question for me. The metal laces were some of the first bobbin laces to be made, and they really came out of passaments. And you see them a lot on military uniforms. In the Elizabethan era, we saw them as applique. So we would see them down the front of the large velvet gowns and that sort of thing on the sleeves. It went out of fashion for a while, and then in the 1800s, it came back with some of the, how should I say, national pride type things that were going on, regional costuming and that sort of thing. And we see a lot of that with regional costuming all over Europe.
Okay, shall we go back to the board here?
Absolutely. How about needle lace up here in the right-hand corner? So here we have needle lace, and this one on the very bottom is figural. I'm not sure if you can see, but they're little people.
Oh, yes, we got it.
There you go. And that's something most of us find, you know, sort of whimsical. Lace can be serious at times, so it's fun to see the little figures. And this really developed out of embroidery and things people were doing with needles.
So this is this all done with threads, or is this done with...
A single thread.
A single
thread and a single needle.
Wow.
It is the most time-consuming of all of the laces, for sure. And if you can imagine how long it would take to do that.
So this really probably wouldn't be on doll clothes because it would be an expensive lace, I would imagine.
Unless you were exceedingly wealthy, that
Okay.
you would not even consider it,
Right.
you know, in the day. Yeah.
What was the value of lace in, say, the 18th century and the 19th century? Where did it rate in personal possessions?
It was definitely at the top. It was up there with gold and gems and pearls and that sort of thing.
Okay.
It was very costly. And when you start talking about the metal laces, they did have actual gold and silver. And it was very expensive. There were a lot of sumptuary laws within different countries in Europe. You had to have a certain status to even be able to wear certain types of lace. So it was definitely a status symbol. Definitely
Okay.
very valuable.
So where do we go next?
Next, we'll look at the tape laces.
Which I love. I always think they're so pretty.
So this was something that popped up really to compete with machines. So we saw this in the late 1800s and early 1900s. At first, the tapes were made of bobbin lace, just a quick bobbin lace tape, and they quickly turned into machine-made tape, and then they would use needle lace techniques to put the things together.
Fantastic. And value, I don't mean to be value, but was this on par with the needle lace, or is this a cheaper?
This is definitely a cheaper version.
A cheaper version.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it becomes difficult to distinguish in the sense that at this point we started seeing middle class people. I often think of Downton Abbey and Lady Mary and her quote of saying, you know, the world is changing and we must change with it. You know, things were changing, and this type of thing was accessible to the common person. So you wouldn't see a fine needle lace maybe on someone walking down the street, but this would be accessible to people.
And were they learning the tech, middle class people, were they learning how to do this?
It is possible a person could learn how to do this.
Okay. Okay, where do we go next?
Next, we'll go here to the sole laces. And these are named after the sun, sol meaning sun in Spanish, and everything is radial. So it's done on a small plate, I guess I would say, and it's warped radially. don't know if you can see those
Oh,
there.
yes, sure.
Yeah.
So is this from a specific country?
This particular one, I do not know what country it's from. We actually have someone working on that right now who's dating and finding places of origin for some of these pieces.
I mean, it is just, it's just an amazing thing.
It is something that was born in Spain and moved as people moved to South America. They took them.
You know, it reminds me, it reminds me of the collars that you see in, 17th century paintings. You know, those big, huge
Yes.
collars, that same kind of.
Those were
ethereal.
usually needle or bobbin, but yes,
Okay.
it does have that ethereal quality about it.
And where do we go next?
Here we have netted laces, and there are many different kinds of netted laces. If you really want to get into it, you can separate this into several families in and of itself. We've grouped them together just to make things not as mind-boggling. So you can make net the same way that fishermen do.
Oh, okay.
It's just much smaller. Instead of rope, you're using a thread, and instead of a large shuttle, you could use a small one or a needle. We also have machine-made laces, and this one here is a machine-made netted lace, and it's got the motifs included in it.
And that would be what most of us have in our
Most
family tablecloths would be made out of that.
Most likely.
Yeah. Gorgeous. And then,
Down here we have knitted lace, and this is the one we find the least samples of.
really?
Yeah, and it's odd to me because there's so much knitting. Knitting's been so popular in the last century, and but we don't see a lot of knitted lace come in.
It's beautiful, and it must be just very lightweight because it looks very dainty.
It's exceedingly lightweight. That piece you would not even feel if you were wearing it.
Beautiful. Okay, where do we go next?
If you'd like to look at the tools, is that possible, or will that give you a
We
glare?
can. Well, we've got a little bit of glare, but we'll persevere.
Okay, so I'll start up here on the left and I'll move towards the right. So here on the left we have needle lace, and you can see you've just got needles there. It's just a needle
It's
and a
just a
thread.
regular needle. It's not any.
Nothing extra
Special,
fancy.
okay.
Nope. Below that we have crochet, and here you're just using a crochet hook.
Regular old crochet hook.
Yeah. And then down here we have a knitted piece, and they're just like other knitting needles, they're just smaller.
Okay.
Up here we have bobbin lace. Now this piece would actually be made with more bobbins than that, but this is what fits into our display, so,
Well,
but
we're going to see that, aren't we?
we are going to see that.
Okay.
Here we have a tatted piece. We have a blue shuttle and then this tatted piece underneath it. Below that we have two machined pieces, and these both look as though they were constructed by the method I was talking about with embroidery. Up here in the corner we have a netted piece, and you see there it's a long needle that's
Oh, yes.
yeah, kind of halfway between a needle and a shuttle. Here's a tape lace, and to the left of the heart, you see an actual tape. So a person would buy their tapes by yardage, and then they would couch it down to a pattern, make the fillings, and then they could release it. Next to that, we have a tenerife. Some people call it a loom, but you can see that it's warped. And then this is an especially tiny piece of tenerife. Tenerife is one of the many sole laces, and we chose that simply so that it would fit into here, but it's a very tiny little dainty piece.
Okay. And I see above that, and I'm going to move over here so I can get it. Well, maybe I can't get it, but you have, are these the basic food groups for making lace?
These are the basic food groups for making lace. So in Europe, we saw a few different things. First, there was linen, which comes from the flax plant. And then, of course, silk, cotton, and to a lesser degree, wool. You don't see wool as often.
Wool would be kind of a little more chunky, wouldn't it?
It is. It's a little bit of a thicker lace, but we do see it now and again. And then I would add to that the other thing, it wouldn't fit into this box because it's not a natural fiber, but they would be the metal laces. And those are usually constructed with a silk core of thread, and then it has a fine tinsel of metal that's wrapped around them.
Okay, so then that could be in the silk area, really.
Perhaps.
All right, shall we move on?
Okay.
Kim, tell me about this little treasure.
So this is a favorite of ours. This is Ipswich Lace, and this is the only handmade bobbin lace that was done as an industry in the U.S.
Really?
And we're very lucky.
So this is American.
This is the only commercially made American bobbin lace. And it was done back in the time of George and Martha here, which is why they're in the painting. The shawlette that Martha is wearing it could be this lace. We don't know. That piece of lace has not survived, so
Which
no
she
one knows.
could have made herself, couldn't she?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay. Martha wasn't a lace maker?
She was not to my knowledge.
Oh, really? Okay.
Not to my knowledge. Neither was Betsy. So.
Really?
But these are the bobbins that they were made with. And one of the interesting tidbits about this type of lace is we don't know which country it was really imported from. Some of the tools that are used are a little ambiguous, so we're not sure exactly where it came from. And
You mean the tools?
yes, and the tradition, who started
who
it,
started
who
it.
started the industry. There were so many people immigrating at that time, we're not really quite certain. But there's been quite a bit of research done by someone named Thompson, and she's a lace volunteer at the Smithsonian. And so she's written a book about this, which we have in our online store. And she also teaches a class in Ipswich Lace, which you can find a spot to put yourself on the waiting list if you happen to be a bobbin lace
And is
maker.
that something online or is that an in-house?
It's online.
Okay. So Kim, tell me, what are we looking at here?
In this cabinet, we're looking at all different pieces of Irish crochet. So I was inspired to go into our Irish crochet box and pull these out when I did this cabinet. Since the lockdowns began last year, we've been studying Irish crochet here with probably the world's leading expert, Myra Trenner. She's in Ireland. She's in the Clonus area. And we've been learning with her online every Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
It's coming up on a year in about 2 weeks. And so I've been making this type of lace, and it's been really fun to look through everything with a different eye than I had for it before. We have some older pieces and we have some newer pieces.
So there are actually some new pieces in this cabinet?
And when I say new, I mean early 20th century.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't mean brand
Because
new.
it looks to me like this, I mean, you have to really know what you're doing to make this.
It's a good idea. I will say for myself, I've been crocheting since I was about 7, and I had to completely relearn how to hold the hook and the thread. Yes, I had needed to learn to hold them a different way. And then of course you have to learn your tension all over again, which is what it's about for just about all types of lace. So down here, we see a piece that was probably a little bit on the older side. And by older, Irish crochet emerged a bit before the famine, so we're talking second quarter of the 1800s. And you can see the variety of different motifs here. You've got, and there's symmetry. This piece is very nicely put together because of the symmetry.
What do you date this, do you think? Because it looks to me slightly like it could be the front of a pigeon-breasted 1890s.
That's exactly, yeah, I would put it into the later, probably the last quarter of the 1800s, just by the style. And that is how we often date lace, by the style.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is
This
amazing.
one is particularly nice. Do you see all of the little dots that are all over it in the
Yes.
groundwork?
Mhm.
Those are called Clonus knots, and they were only made in the Clonus area.
So would they make a piece like this and then export it, or was it made particularly for someone to put on a dress?
Both things could happen. Irish crochet in general was sold to people outside of Ireland. It was meant as a money-making endeavor. But I'm sure there were wealthy people in Ireland that had pieces.
That's just stunning.
Yeah.
I think it looks to me like it's part of the way the shape kind
Yes.
of fits to the pigeon-breasted concept.
I believe so. And it could have been something that was commissioned. You would certainly have it fitted.
Gorgeous.
So the way this would be constructed is the makers would each family would specialize in a few different motifs. So you might have someone that made all roses, you might have someone that did all of the leaves, and then there would be a person that did all of the groundwork and assembled it.
Stunning. Okay, what are we going to look at next?
Let's look what's next to it. Now, this is probably the latest period of the Irish crochet. Everything, you can see that it's a bit more simple. Everything was made in these squares, and they're much faster to make. So this was toward the end, it was well after the famine was over and into the revival period.
But the pattern is just amazing. Just amazing. And those would be removable. So is that I'm taking that's a cuff and collars, correct?
It is, yes, it is a cuff and collars. And you know, this sort of thing really fell out of fashion when people stopped having a laundress or a lady in waiting or someone who's doing that for you. You know, for us wash and wear type folks,
yeah,
that's just too much work.
Yeah. I don't know, it's pretty, awfully pretty. Okay, where are we going to go next?
So we can look at the piece next to it here. This one I brought out because it has such a variety of different motifs in it that are fun to look at. Various flowers, various sprays. That one does not have Clonus knots. The little nubs that are there are just picots. They're not actually full knots.
So Irish lace, what would be the material that it's made out of? What is it? So
there were actually multiple laces in Ireland. You had Limerick lace, which is like the netting with the hook that goes through it. You had a little bit of bobbin lace, I believe, in Kenmare. Carrickmacross, which is I would call it an applique lace. But they used mainly linen and cotton, both things. This piece here has 2 thistles in it, and it's just absolutely exquisite.
That is. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
So we're actually working on a book now with Myra. It'll be her second book, and it's going to be called Irish Crochet Throughout the World. And she'll be looking at how Irish crochet influenced other countries making similar laces.
Now, did they, in ladies' journals of the time, did they teach, give instruction on how to make lace, or was that? That
did start up, I think the very first crochet came out around 1832, if I'm not mistaken, in a pattern for ladies. And that did happen. Most of the ones that I've found in the American journals were a little bit more simple. They were not as fancy as
these. Yes, this would be hard to put in a journal.
Yeah. Yep. And up here we just have more fun examples. Lots more fun examples.
Gorgeous. I think this is one of my favorite types of lace. And this is what you do. Is this your...
My main lace is bobbin lace.
Okay.
But I have been crocheting since I was small, and I've always wanted to learn this lace. It was on my bucket list. And I was actually supposed to go see Myra. She was teaching in Berkeley, but the pandemic happened. So she couldn't come to Berkeley. And when I thought about what to do online, I thought, yes.
Well, I mean, I think that's... how has that worked for you? Has that expanded your audience of?
Very much so. To gather 10 people or 12 people to make a class viable in one location that were all interested in the same thing was very costly for everyone and sometimes difficult. But here, we can find 10 people all over the world that are interested in a topic much more easily. So it's much more viable in terms of...
You've had to reinvent yourself to...
Completely reinvented ourselves, but it was very successful and we've had a good time doing it, so.
Great. So let's, I think, shall we go look at a dress?
Sure.
So Kim, tell me about this Sleeping Beauty.
So this is from the Edwardian period, and all of the laces here are machine made. These are not handmade laces, but they were extremely popular. We see a lot of donations come in from around this time where you will see a garment that is made out of laces, but then the actual brand new laces will be accompanying it. And oftentimes young women and their mother or friend or aunt would take trips to Europe and purchase up these pieces and then bring them back for their seamstress or tailor. So it's quite fun.
Now in the collection, do you have a lot of garments, or is that not,
That's not our main focus, but we do have quite a few garments.
as long as it has lace on it?
As long as it has lace on it,
Okay.
or it's comprised of lace, one of the two.
So this would be an era of this dress, something that would be plentiful.
Yes, this is not a particularly rare piece, but it's in a very nice condition.
Yes.
And so for us to keep a garment, there needs to be something special about it.
Right. So this is basically, if you were as a collector, this would be like a beginning piece.
I think so.
I mean, that does sound mean, but
It's not, we have a few garments that are completely handmade.
yeah.
We have an Irish crochet cape that is all handmade, and it's a big, huge thing.
Yeah.
It's
So you're about the lace. So
Yes.
it could be just about any form
Yes.
as long as it has some fantastic lace.
that is correct.
So tell me about this garment here.
This is an especially beautiful piece. It's mimicking bobbin lace. So you've probably heard of chantilly, as most of us Americans say. And even though it's machine made, it's just stunning how that would look on a person.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And with a color underneath it, it would just pop. So that's here because it's outstanding.
It's
lace.
just beautiful to look at.
And then we have this piece here that's very interesting.
This one is so unusual. These shapes here, so this is a very basic bobbin lace. And these definitely would have been handmade. And so they would have been made in strips. But the pattern is just very unusual.
I've never seen it.
No,
And then they used ribbon to run through it.
yes, we have these ribbons.
And would you
running
call those French knots to?
through. I would,
Okay.
I would.
So this person was very clever.
Very clever. And we see that a lot in the Edwardian period where they were really, I almost think of it as quilting with lace, where they were putting different pieces of lace together and stacking them.
And do you consider this handmade or machine-made lace?
The lace is handmade.
Okay,
I
so-
would imagine a sewing machine was involved for the construction of the garment.
It's pretty stunning, I think.
Yeah, very unusual.
And then here we have, these would be kind of later collars, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Compared to what we've looked at earlier.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm gonna guess all machine made?
All but the one on the left has a bit of Irish crochet.
This one?
Partly machined, it's on the green
Okay,
hanger.
yes.
Mostly machined, but you do see some Irish crochet there.
Now, I know you've got another set of drawers with all kinds of wonderful things in it. Can we go
Yes.
look at that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Here we have our hair lace.
Oh my. Is that hair?
It is hair,
Oh my God.
yes. Sometimes these were made from human hair and sometimes from horse hair.
That is unbelievable. So is this like a little, a vest to go over a bodice or?
This is a vest, and when I first saw it, we had it over fabric, and I was thinking that it was likely a vest, that you'd wear on the outside. But over time, I've often wondered if it could be more of a penance item, the proverbial hair vest. I really
that
don't
they-
know. We don't have the provenance.
Well, I mean, I think this is just a very unique thing.
It is quite a fun item. So there were a few different traditions with the hair.
So do you consider is this a form of lace?
I would call
Hair
it.
art?
I would call it a tape lace. Technically, it's braided inside, but the lines there are very blurred.
We apologize for the reflection here. There's no way that we could do it any other way. That's really a truly an amazing. I mean, would you consider this one of your rarest items in the museum?
It is very rare. I've never seen another.
I think then that's one of the rarest. And this actually, when I think of it, your jewelry is kind of a form of lace, isn't it?
In a way, yeah.
All right, shall we move on to the next thing?
Okay.
All right, Kim, I love the drawers. What have you got to show us in those drawers?
This first drawer is all about laces that are made from bobbins that come from all over Europe. So in some of the names, you may recognize cities. I'm gonna pull this out just a wee bit more. Up here we have Milanese. That style of lace originated in Milan.
Gorgeous.
And below that you have some Mechlin. It's from what's now Belgium.
Gorgeous.
So these are some of the very fine laces.
Now these would be these are machine made?
No, these are all handmade.
Oh, these are handmade. But have these been mimicked pretty good by machines?
Yes, very well.
So these are the kind of laces I think we'd see on doll clothes.
Yes.
But machine made.
Correct.
Okay, no, I got excited. So where are we here?
So this is Valenciennes.
Gorgeous.
And below here, Vieux Flandre. So this is Flanders.
And is that a mystical creature there, or?
I think so. It appears to be some sort of winged horse.
Okay. And then
Then we have Brussels, which is also in Belgium.
Beautiful. And that looks like we have a hunt scene. Oh, we do?
We do. It's a hunt scene.
Am I right?
Yes.
Oh, fun.
Hunt scenes are quite popular in lace.
Really?
Yes.
So would you think that a hunt scene, would that be used on a garment for a hunting habit, or did they just...
I think people just liked them.
They just like them.
We see them in tapestries and quite often in lace.
Okay.
And they're very popular today, I would say.
Oh, really?
As well.
Okay.
Yeah. And then under here we have another Belgian lace, which is Banche.
That's beautiful.
And the one we're coming on next is Maltese, and you'll notice how different this one looks. This is made of silk instead of linen. The others you looked at were all from linen.
I always love these.
And you can tell that this is from Malta because of these Maltese crosses that are in there.
Okay, show me where the cross is.
They're like little triangles. There's four little chevrons.
Yes, okay, I see it now. Beautiful.
So this is some real Chantilly lace right here. And next to it we have some machine made. And to the untrained eye, they look quite similar.
The machine made would be what would be used on doll clothes pretty regularly.
Yes.
And then next to that is...
It's the same style of bobbin lace. It's often called blonde or blonde.
Blonda.
Yes.
And that would be again, something that would be used on doll clothes, but they would be using the machine-made pieces.
Yes.
Because this is just very beautifully made. Okay, where do we go next?
All right. I think we might want to go down to the next drawer.
Okay.
What do you think?
You're the boss. Oh, some gorgeous things.
So here we have all needle laces. And they're all different types here. I'm not as knowledgeable about needle lace as I am about bobbin lace, but...
It looks like we have something here that's ancient.
Yes, this is quite old, and this is part of a collar, probably not the whole thing. And oftentimes these were used in various religious vestments. So.
That's fantastic. So it says 16th century. Is that possible?
I think that it's probably a little later than that.
Okay.
These dates have been in here for some time, but we're actually in the midst of rehabbing these.
Okay. So maybe...
16th century would put it 1500s. And
so maybe what they meant was 1650.
I kind of think so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect, and a lot of museums won't take out their lace because it is so difficult to date. Here we have some Point de Gaze, and this is probably one of my favorites in this drawer because of the 3D aspect of it.
Gorgeous.
And this is a very whimsical piece.
It really is 3D. I mean,
it really is.
I hope that that's coming through on camera, but it really is 3D.
Multiple layers. This is a very whimsical piece for a long time we tried to figure out what was going on, and we're fairly certain that she was drying her hair with this over the hot stove.
Oh.
Which I think it's fun to see things like that.
Do you think she was kind of like fanning the hot air up?
Exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic. It was a hair dryer.
Pretty much.
The first hair dryer.
And you know, none of us adults could figure it out, but a child was taking a tour with me one day, and she suggested it.
Oh, she just loved that.
And then we all said, oh, yeah, you're right.
And I love this monogram piece. It's just amazing. It's like fish scales.
Yes.
And is this, I guess it's a doily, a big doily?
Yeah, I would call it a large mat.
Large mat, gorgeous.
Yeah. And yeah, this is Irish, actually. I was speaking of kinmere.
And this piece, this would go beautifully on a
frontal?
A frontal, a bodice.
Yeah.
Is it possible that that could be older than the 19th century? Because it's sure shaped like a stomacher.
It could be a little, yeah. I could see it another 50 years earlier.
Yeah, because it has that shape.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what you got in the next drawer.
Okay. I think I'm going to skip down to this
I know
one.
you've got something really good because I saw it the last time I was here.
Is this the one you might be after?
Yes.
So this piece is very unusual, and it was on a dress, like this dress here, and it was a ball gown. It's not odd to me at all that we only have this piece of it.
Sure.
Because it was very heavy with all these little beetle wings all over it. And also the mordants that they used to dye the black thread really ate through things. So it would have been really weak between the weight and the weak threads. But the color on these beetles is so unusual, and that is their natural color. They have not been painted or lacquered or anything.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Absolutely fabulous. And then there's the famous Peacock Dress,
Yes.
and it had beetle wings just like this. So this is just a fragment, but
This is just a fragment.
I mean, wouldn't you say this is a rarity to have?
I think so, yes. Yes. I've personally always wondered what happened to the rest of the dress, but we'll never know.
Well, I think at that, we're talking, 1900, and the fabrics just were not really good, so it may have just
Disintegrated.
disintegrated.
Yeah, that is the most likely.
It's a fabulous thing. It looks like you have a whole little specimen of a beetle there.
That is the beetle. He's preserved.
He died of old age, so you don't have to write us letters about it. But the wings are just... Now, are they... I've never handled them. Are they durable, these wings?
Do you know, I hate to say this, but what they feel like is an artificial fingernail.
Okay, good. Then that means that we can all relate. Thank you for showing us that.
You're welcome.
And I think we should show them, since we're filming this on Memorial Day,
Ah, yes.
what amazing piece this is. So tell me about it.
I'm going to go to your left here while I describe this one so I can show you some other things. This is a piece that's very special to us here. It's considered a war lace, and so we're talking about World War I. Several of us here have been researching these for many years. We've done a lot of studying over in the Hoover Archive over at Stanford. And from there, we actually have a book that's for sale. I'll place it here.
Okay, Belgian lace.
They allowed us to reproduce this book, and it shows the prices that these were available for. The lace was really meant to help the lace makers during the war. So we're talking about people that were in Belgium when they were occupied by Germany. And this is what a lot of ladies were allowed to do to make some money.
To make money.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And were they exported out as best they could? Or
Yes,
sold to
and-
soldiers? Or
Yes, some soldiers did have them, but mainly they were exported. These pieces are particularly valuable because they were not supposed to be making any Allied symbols.
Oh.
And as you can see, these are all Allied symbols. Over there, you may notice the sun from Japan. So that dates this piece for us, that it was very late in the war because Japan entered the war very late. I was lucky enough to go to Belgium a couple of years ago and studied in the archive there. And the prickings from these, which are the patterns, actually followed the war. You know, you could see from the different years they were making the patterns which allies were in the war and which weren't. So it's really interesting.
Do you know the symbols?
Yes. So in the center we have Belgium with the 3 lions. And then if you go directly below that, you have France, and it's got FR for the French Republic. And then moving counterclockwise from France, we first have the UK. That's the lion and the unicorn. And then, of course, Japan with the chrysanthemum emblem. I still call it the sun, but...
It looks like more like a sun than a chrysanthemum.
And then we have Portugal. Those are wyverns.
Beautiful.
Up above that, we have Romania with the lion and the quartered shield. You know,
And of course, that's upside down.
And it is upside down, yeah.
Yeah, from where we're standing.
Next, you have Italy with the lions and the cross. And then next to that, you have Serbia, which, you know, when you think of the Allies, that's not the first you think of, but they were there, the shield and the sword. And next to that, we have Montenegro with the 2-headed eagle.
Fabulous.
And then one of the things that makes this piece unusual is we have the Chinese dragon here. This is the only piece I've personally seen that has the Chinese dragon in it. And then, of course, there we are.
Good old USA. This is a treasure.
So,
was this to go on like a center table or?
yes, and it likely would have been a diplomatic gift. I think that most of
this
these...
was special.
Yeah, most of these larger special ones were gifts. And I have to tell you about a book. This is, in my opinion, the best lace story that's ever been written.
And you sell these?
We do sell
The
these.
story of Ma's laces.
To my knowledge, we're the only people importing these in the US. These are not easy to come by. And I won't ruin the story, but I will tell you that she did politically subversive lace and could have been killed for what she was doing.
Okay, well, it sounds like a movie.
It's a good one.
So they can buy this off of your website.
They can.
Okay. Now I want you to show us the project you're working on.
Certainly.
So Kim, this display is something you're working on. So tell me about it.
This is a little pet project of mine. I am a collector of pins, and so I decided it would be really fun to use the graphics on some of these old magazines for pins. They're
I can see the pins there. It's a perfect reproduction.
Yes, we did a good job.
Now, did you do these pieces?
No, these are pieces that are just there to accompany, to give it a little life.
You didn't make them.
I did not.
But you can do it.
Yes, I am able to execute all of these techniques, actually.
What I think is very interesting here on this one, I can see from her nail polish that is fairly late for doing that type of bobbin lace.
That's tatting.
Oh, tatting. Okay,
That's tatting. Mm-hmm.
So isn't that fairly late for that kind of work?
Oh, no, that was quite popular then. I would say that was the height of it, yes.
In the 30s?
Yes, in the early part of the last century. And this piece, this tatted piece next to it, we've actually had one of our teachers reconstruct it, and that is a class that we offer.
Wow.
So we've been having a good time. And this is a more modern piece. I got permission from the author, she's still living, and she gave me permission to recreate her.
Well, I'm sure she's delighted to have it. And again, these are things that could be purchased by anyone to and help support your museum.
Absolutely. These are on our gift shop on our website under gifts.
Okay, great. Now, have you, are these classes you teach too? The tatting?
We do teach tatting, and yes, most of these are tatting books, yes.
Fabulous. I think it's time for you to try to teach me to do lace.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna just.
Are you ready?
I don't know if I'm ready, but I'm just gonna watch. But I'd love to see it, and I know everyone else would too. So we have Karen, who is the chairman of the board on the Lace Museum, and she has agreed to give us a little demonstration on how to do bobbin lace. So, Karen, can you do this with your eyes closed?
Well, I can at least look at you.
Okay.
Not sure that I can do it with my eyes closed
I
or
think
not.
you can.
But
So tell us what you're doing.
bobbin lace is a style of weaving, and depending on whether you put crosses or twists in, you're either going to join the threads together or you're going to put spaces in the middle. So you always work with two pair. Cross will join your two threads together. Twist will give you space. By putting space in it, that's what makes it lacy. Every time I want my threads to change directions, I'm going to put a pin in. And it's going to stay there.
Now, do you know what pattern you're making when you're doing this?
I designed this for bookmarks for sale here at the museum. You can purchase them on the website for gifts.
Wow.
We get donated a lot of this particular size thread, and we were swimming in it. And so
You had to find a...
we have to find a use for things, because of course you can't waste things in life.
No. How long have you been making lace?
Started making lace in about 91.
Okay.
So
So you've been doing it a while.
just a couple years ago.
What made you decide to get into lace?
I saw it demonstrated at a street fair, and I thought, oh, that is totally cool. And it took me about 3 years to clear my schedule to take classes. And it wasn't long after that I found the Lace Museum. I actually found bobbin lace before I found the museum. And then as I started doing it, I thought, oh, this is like really odd. My mom was a master weaver, and I was doing the same thing she was doing, except I could take my loom with me.
Yeah, you could take this anywhere. Can't you?
Exactly. So we started hanging out at weaving events together because we were talking the same language.
It gave you something to do in common.
Mm-hmm. And then as your thread gets shorter, you just unwind them. We wind the thread on each of our bobbins in a manner that we can unwind them quickly.
I just find it absolutely fascinating. And so it looks like there's you punched little holes into the cardstock.
Yeah, so there's a pattern
Okay, so
under here, and every place that there's a hole, I've pricked it so that my point of my pin falls into the hole.
I'm sure this gives you a personal appreciation for fine lace, antique lace,
Oh, it does.
after you do it.
Yeah, you always appreciate it more when you know the work
goes
that's gone into it. Exactly.
And I have no idea how you manage all those. And are those called bobbins?
These are bobbins. These are continental bobbin. They are not spangled. We also have English bobbins that have spangles on them
What's
for
a
weight.
spangle?
A spangle is a loop of beads that will give it some
Oh,
weight.
extra weight.
Give it
Okay.
extra weight. That is correct.
I've seen that now. Now that you mention it,
So this
I thought
particular.
that was just so that it looked.
So they
Pretty.
look pretty?
No.
They do that too. So this particular pattern is worked in 2 halves. I've done the fans on, completed the fans on 1 half. I'm going to complete the fan on the other half now. And I'm going to recycle pins as I go along. Otherwise you'll end up with 1,000 pins in here. There's
And Kim brought out one of the. So this is typically an English bobbin here
It's
with
an
the,
English style bobbin, and it's weighted on the bottom with beads.
probably cow bone, would you say?
This one here is wood.
Wood?
This
Oh,
one's just a plain wood one. A lot of times people will paint them, decal them. I took a class in tie-dyeing them at one point.
Wow, okay.
So you can do all kinds of fun things with them.
Now, do you do this at home as a relaxation?
I like to. Unfortunately, life's been a little crazy the last couple of months, so unfortunately this doesn't come out except for demoing.
Oh, okay.
But hopefully fairs and everything will be opening back up, so you'll see me at fairs. I love to take my pillows out to
Demonstrate.
get people interested in what we do.
So is that one of your main forms of outreach?
Yes. We do vintage houses, we do fairs. Just let us know when an event is coming, and we will be happy to come demo.
How do you feel when children see what you're doing? Is it fascinating to them?
I love it. They actually pick it up really easy. They do a lot of friendship bracelets and things of that sort, which are heavier threads, but it's a similar type of thing.
So do you do some teaching of youngsters?
Yes, we have children's classes as well.
Wonderful.
Need to start them young and capture their interest.
Absolutely. Does this require a lot of counting as you're doing it?
No counting at all.
You just make it look so easy.
I'm working from top to bottom. This particular pattern does not matter whether you work right to left or left to right, but all I'm doing is following the dots. I wanted to design a pattern that not only used up the resources that we had, but I could actually do it and talk and it wouldn't scare people away. I have some pillows that have lots and lots and lots of bobbins on them, but it just scares people away.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do that.
Well, this scares me, but
And so it's only 2 pair at one time.
I appreciate that you do it. Oh, Kim, come show us those. I want to see, well, let's see the finished product. So this is what we're making. Well, I'm not making it, but I'm
You're helping.
I'm helping. Fantastic. Just absolutely fantastic. And again, these you make these and you sell these to support all of your outreach and the rent and all of the things that it takes to keep a museum going.
Absolutely. And we want to get handmade lace out there into the public. A lot of people say, oh, it's too labor intensive. And if you actually sold it for what you had into it, you wouldn't make any money. They take me about 4 or 5 hours to do a bookmark. They're 6 inches long. But I would rather take a little bit of a loss, donate my time, I'm not selling my time, and get handmade lace out into the public.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for giving us this demonstration.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for showing an interest.
Kim, I want to thank you for this wonderful program. I think I've learned so much, and I also want to thank you, Marta, for arranging this. Is there anything you'd like to tell our attendees of World Doll Day celebration?
Well, please come and visit us either virtually or in person if you happen to be in Sunnyvale, California. And you can always visit us at our website.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.